Time, bitches.
Welcome to High Times Podcast with your host here, Alex Acosta, my co-host Armando Beltran, and it is Halloween month, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to week 6. Cinnamon Stardust.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the High Times Podcast. Today we got a live audience. Let's get a round of applause for the live audience. Welcome back to the High Times Podcast today. Today's October 9th, you know, we're just getting in the zone. Week 5 is finally over, man. Hey, shout out to Drew Brees. Congratulations, Drew Brees out there, man.
Drew Brees, that's right. That's my boy right there.
Got himself a game against that sorry Washington Redskins defense, but Drew Brees got the job done. I walked away this week with a fantasy win. So I'll move on to 3-2. I think. Did you win this week, Alex?
Nah, I took an L. I played the highest scoring team in the league. I was the third highest scoring team.
Third highest scoring team. So that thing's a little bit different today, you know, different setup today. You know, last week we were by the fireplace. This week, you know, we're back in the little garage setup, and we got a mic this week. And we got a mic this week.
I had some bad news happen to me this past weekend. I got robbed for all of my equipment. So right now, just using some backup equipment.
We're
so
struggling
I'm gonna
right
be back up and running, no worries with
We're
all of
struggling
this
right
shit. But right now,
We're struggling.
For mic.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I said, we're struggling this week, but it's alright. We're gonna keep this shit going. We're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it rolling. Like, once again, thanks for all the support in the comments this week. You know, we actually got a lot of comments this week. I appreciate all the love, all the subscribers.
I'm glad we were able to help some of y'all too. Hey.
Yeah, we helped. We started Aaron Rodgers over Phillip Rivers, and Aaron Rodgers went off, even though the Packers lost. But it's not important. We care about your fantasy teams. And with that being said, let's start us off with the sits and starts for this week 6 matchups. I'm going to go ahead and start us off this week. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the running back starts. This week, I actually like T.J. Yeldon versus the Cowboys. You know, T.J. Yeldon was a good waiver wire pickup that we mentioned a couple weeks ago, and he continues his role against opposing defense. You know, Leonard Fournette seems to be out for a couple more weeks. You know, they picked up Jamal Charles yesterday or today this morning. So the T.J. Yeldon is going to keep on there and keep on doing his thing. And actually, that Cowboy run defense hasn't been unstoppable this year at all. Last week against second string Alfred Blue, gave up 19 points, and T.J. Yeldon, in my opinion, is a lot better than Alfred Blue. So shouts out to T.J. Yeldon. If you have him, go ahead and start him. He's stepping up in that role nicely, and he's also a dual threat running back. You know, he gets those receptions out of the backfield as well. Another guy I also like is Isaiah Corral versus the Indianapolis Colts. You know, I actually have Isaiah Corral on my team, and, you know, I honestly don't like the guy on my team. I mean, he's very inconsistent. Every time I started him this year, he's only put up like 1 point. But when I don't start him, he puts up 30 points. But, you know, this week, like I said, I like that matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. You know, the Colts aren't a powerhouse defense at all by all means necessary. I don't see anything in that defense that's really going to stop Isaiah Corral. And Sam Darnold's also struggling. You know, Sam Darnold's not really throwing the ball that well. So the Jets are actually focusing on that run game. You know, they're going to the run game a lot. And surprisingly, Isaiah Corral's the 3rd leading rusher in the league. You know, so he's the 3rd leading rusher. That definitely puts him on. All right, so Alex, what you got for your starts this week, my man?
All right, guys. So we're gonna kind of run through it a little quick too, so that way we can kind of get more players in for you guys as well. So for this week, a stardom that I like is James White. James White against KC. So he's going to be playing at home. And we already know that defenses, or that the KC defenses suck. So they give up a lot of yardage. They give up a lot of points as well too. So just look for James White to get into the end zone this week. So I like him against KC. Another running back that I like as well too is Nyheim Hines this week.
Yeah, he went off last week.
Yeah, he did good. He's starting to be consistent, and they're starting to rely more on him. The Colts are. So he's starting to produce. You know, he's more involved in the passing game as well too with Andrew Luck there. So this week they're going to New York against the Jets. So look for Nyheim Hines to, you know, continue to be able to put some points on there. And another one that I like too is Joe Mixon versus Pittsburgh. So he came back last week. We already know Giovanni Bernard is out for the season. So Mixon is going to be back up and running. He's going to get his gig back. So we were kind of iffy as far as how he was going to come back into play. Yeah. He came back. He put up double-digit numbers around like the 20 mark. So look for him to continue that success against Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh, they've actually been creating some turnovers this year, but they're not giving. I mean, they are giving those rushing yards. So look for Joe Mixon to have a big game there as well.
Yeah, and like we said in the past couple of weeks, actually, Andy Dalton, I think I mentioned it when I said to start Giovanni Bernard. The Bengals like to run the ball. They've always been a running team. They never had big house name running backs, but they do like to pound the ball when it comes to the end zone. So like Joe Mixon, he's a good running back. He's a powerhouse running back. To me, he reminds me a little bit of a younger Marshawn Lynch right there. That's a good start right there, Alex. So my sits of the week, sits of the week are out there. It's at the point where, like I said, I'm playing those matchups, and one of the sits I don't like this week is gonna be Philip Lindsay against the Rams. Philip Lindsay, he's been if and on every week so far. He's had a couple weeks and he's had a couple bad weeks. I remember when Alex had started him and he went off, and then when Alex had sit him, he didn't do anything. So I feel like he's another sit this week, especially against that Rams front four. You can't take away from Donald, Sue, Brockers. That front four is devastating. At the same time, I don't think Case Keenum's going to have a great game, or just that Bronco offense in general. The Rams are too hot right now. So I would consider red flagging Philip Lindsay this week. Also, with Kenyon Drake. A couple weeks ago I said start him, but ever since I've said start him, it seems like Frank Gore's actually getting more of the reps. That's honestly surprising. Kenyon Drake's a younger running back, and they're going with the veteran in Frank Gore. Even though Frank Gore's not getting a lot of points, but Kenyon Drake hasn't really done much since I've said start him. And he's going against that Chicago Bears defense. Me and you really highlighted that Bears defense so far this year. And that Bears defense is scary, especially Khalil Mack running off the edge and the rookie. Yeah, I wouldn't start Kenyon Drake this week at all.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw out some 4 sit-ems. So these are going to be guys that are kind of on that, do I start them this week? Do I sit them this week? Players that I don't really like. So the first one, I'm just going to kind of go rapid fire here for this one, is Tariq Cohen against Miami at Miami. So Miami actually has a pretty stellar defense there.
Yeah, they have a
so I see Jordan Howard or them starting to run the ball a little bit more there. Yeah. And it to be a closer game. It's not going to be a higher scoring game where Tariq Cohen's going to be involved there in the passing game. And I think that Miami's going to be able to kind of shut him down there too. Yeah, exactly. So don't look for him to have a big game. Look for him to cool down this week.
Trubisky's getting hot
yeah,
too.
So Tariq Cohen at Miami. Dion Lewis versus Baltimore. Baltimore's defense has continued to stop the run. So Dion Lewis hasn't performed very well either. So Dion Lewis, with Breda and the injuries in San Francisco, you might be thinking, oh, Alfred Morris, let me go ahead and plug him and play him. Against Green Bay, I'm not really too solid on him there. So just his running style is more like, let me kind of run it down the gut more for you guys. So that's not how you're going to really run effectively against Green Bay.
Yeah, exactly.
For them, you're going to want to run on the outside.
Hit those pitches.
Right, so yeah, with Green Bay, it's kind of hard to run on the interior. Alfred Morris isn't a passing back either. Going up against Aaron Rodgers, you might be in a little bit of a higher scoring game.
And they might not be on the field as much.
To be more ineffective.
Yeah.
And then another one is Chris Thompson versus Carolina. So he has an up and down, up and down, up and down. Last week he didn't have the best week. He had a mediocre week, but put up like 10 points, I want to say. So this week he goes up against Carolina. So I just don't like him this week. So those are some sits right there. Do you have anything else on that?
Well, like you said with the whole Alfred Morris thing, he's definitely a plug-in type of player, but I feel like he's at the end of his career. He's past his prime. He didn't really do too much with Dallas last year, but they didn't really utilize him as much. Obviously, they have Ezekiel Elliott over there. But even that, I feel like the 49ers offenses, they're lost right now. They were going to the season with a different expectation. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo was supposed to lead them to the promised land. He's hurt this year, and I feel like that the whole offensive core in general is just struggling. They're trying to find options right now, and going against a Green Bay defense on a primetime game on a Monday night, I feel like they're going to struggle. They're going to definitely get struck out there in Green Bay.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, what about the starts?
For the starts for the wide receivers,
let's get into that.
The start that I actually like is a very low key name, and you can also pick him up on waiver wire. So definitely consider picking up this guy. If you have anyone like Ajayi who got hurt this week, I would consider picking up Ryan Grant from the Indianapolis Colts versus the Jets. The Colts are struggling out there. T.Y. Hilton has been hurt. Eric Ebron, shouts out Alex, he said start Eric Ebron last week.
Hey, if you guys took my advice and started Eric Ebron last week, you put up like 30+ points.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Like I said, Eric Ebron went off last week. And like I said, the Jets defense, there's nothing there that's scary to me. You know, Jamal Adams in the safety position, but like I said, Ryan Grant's taking advantage of his opportunities. You know, he stepped into the #1 wide receiver role, and he has back-to-back 11-point games. You know, for a flex position we mentioned a couple videos ago, we're expecting at least 10 points out of our flex, and Ryan Grant hasn't scored a touchdown, so you know maybe he gets in the end zone this week. So that's definitely a flex start for me, and I also like John Brown against the Titans. You know, John Brown with the Cardinals, he was a good wide receiver, but he's really putting in that role in Baltimore. You know, Joe Flacco seems to like him a lot, and that's always been the struggle for the Baltimore Ravens in the past couple of years with their wide receiver position. And John Brown's getting it done. You know, he's definitely a sleeper flex, and he's averaging about 13 points a game. So you know, I'll take it, and I have him on my team. I'm definitely going to need to start him with people with buys like Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I like John Brown. I actually had John Brown on my team as well too, with Michael Crabtree. So I decided to drop John Brown and go with the bigger name in Crabtree. And Crabtree, he's been consistent. Well. He's been consistent. He's been hovering at 10 to 13 points. So he hasn't been an explosive player where he's putting up mad numbers like John Brown. He has the opportunity to do that. I don't see Crabtree doing that anymore. So he's going to be that consistent 10-point player, but then you got John Brown who can be that person who's going to give you that extra.
He's getting those slant routes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, that's good right there. So, for me, my dark horse of the year that I loved at the beginning of the year, now he's just continuing to put up numbers, is Robert Woods at Denver this week. So, he's having himself another year. He finished out the year strong last year. And then this week we have concussed Cooks and Kupp. So, they may or may not play. We aren't sure yet. But either way, if they do play, they might not be 100% coming back from a concussion. So look for Robert Woods to continue to do more damage and more work. All right, so another player that I like this week is Tyler Lockett. So Tyler Lockett is going up against Oakland at Oakland. So now that Doug Baldwin is back, look for him to have a little bit more space and a little bit less coverage on him. Even though Doug Baldwin didn't perform up to par last week, he had a very
skimpy last week.
Whack week. Put up like 1 point or so. But look for Lockett to have another productive week. He's going to continue his flow with Russell Wilson. They have that trust. They have that rapport already. So he's going to have another solid week. And then Jarvis Landry versus the Chargers. So Jarvis Landry versus the Chargers this week. Baker Mayfield really seems to love him. He's throwing the ball to him a lot. So he's racking up those targets. And I love targets. That creates opportunity. So I'm going to see some space this week with the Chargers. So look for those slants to really kick in this week with Landry. So Jarvis Landry versus the Chargers is going to be starts that I like. So Mondo, what about you? What do you like as far as sits this week for wide receiver?
Yeah. Well, before I get into the sits, I like how you mentioned about Jarvis Landry. You know, Jarvis Landry is big on receptions, especially in a PPR format. You know, where you get points for receptions. So Jarvis Landry usually racks up anywhere from 8 to like 12 receptions a game. So that's automatically just off the bat, without yards and stuff. What is that? 12 points already, right? Just based off receptions. So you can't go wrong with that. It's not even adding his points, guys. So Jarvis Landry is definitely a very essential fantasy football player. And some people I actually don't like this week. I don't like Demaryius Thomas this week. You know, one interesting stat that I was able to find out and look when I was doing my research. You know, when he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not really a productive wide receiver from a fantasy perspective. You know, when he doesn't score a touchdown, Demaryius Thomas has only put up 6, 11, and 6 points. And for a big name like Demaryius Thomas has been, you know, he's considered maybe a wide receiver 1 based on how you draft it, or even a wide receiver number 2, and definitely a must-start player from the previous years. But Demaryius Thomas hasn't really clicked this year, you know, unless he scores, obviously. And I just don't like that matchup he has this week against the Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams are clicking. You know, their defense is good, their secondary is good, and they're 5-0 for a reason. So I'm not a big Demaryius Thomas fan this week, and I'm also not a big Larry Fitzgerald fan. You know, Larry Fitzgerald seems like, you know, he's at the end of his career, and this is the first year in a while where that quarterback situation in Arizona just doesn't seem right. You know, they tried it with Sam Bradford, and now they're going with a young rookie in Josh Rosen. And unfortunately, Larry Fitzgerald is just not clicking. You know, he's only had 5, 2, 5, and 5 points in the last 4 weeks. And that's not productive at all out of me. And maybe you might want to consider dropping him, possibly. You know, Larry Fitzgerald his schedule is kind of iffy towards their last couple weeks, but All right. His last, he's gonna get better. Schedule.
Yeah. So Larry Fitzgerald, guys, I know a lot of people are on the fence about dropping him because he hasn't been producing. So just one thing, if you guys have him, I would hold on to him. If you guys have seen that he has fallen in the on the waivers, go pick him up. And if somebody is willing to trade him for dirt cheap, try to trade for him. So remember, he's playing with the rookie quarterback who hasn't been able to throw the ball as much as you would want a quarterback to throw the ball. They haven't been able to build a rapport. He's been playing with the irritated hamstring, right? So he hasn't had the best matchups. But if we go ahead and then look at Larry Fitzgerald, he has after the Week 9 bye, he has a solid schedule. So let's take a look at this. He has, after Week 9, he has Kansas City, Oakland, the Chargers, Green Bay, Detroit, Atlanta, the Rams, and Seattle. So he has one, maybe two tough matchups there.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that Rosen's going to be able to throw the ball. He's going to start targeting Fitzgerald more because it's not like even their number one option right now with Kirk has been able to do too much. He has been very limited in his targets and receptions as well too. So everybody there is struggling. Even David Johnson, right? He hasn't been the reception monster that you would have drafted him to be. Yeah. So look for them to have a better second half. So that's just my opinion on Fitzgerald. But yeah, for these next couple of weeks until he shows something, I would just keep him on your bench. So that's one there. For my sits, I have 3 this week. These are going to be bigger name plays that you might be putting into your lineup or iffy about starting them. So players that I don't like this week is Alshon Jeffrey against the Giants. So Alshon's still coming off of an injury going up against that number 1 in Javoris Jenkins. So look for them to lock down Jeffrey this week. And that's going to be at Giants as well too. So starting to get cold on the East Coast as well. So Alshon Jeffrey at the Giants. Another one I don't like is Will Fuller versus Buffalo. So the matchup might seem nice, but Will Fuller hasn't, or last week wasn't that effective, right? And then you have the emergence of Kude. He looked pretty nice too. He seemed to get some appeal from Watson. So I feel that the attention is going to be more on Fuller from a defensive scheme point because Buffalo needs to take away the deep ball, right? Because that's what they're giving up a lot. So they're going to keep the ball in front of them. Will Fuller is a deep threat. So I don't see him having a bounce back week this week. I would keep him on your bench. And T.Y. Hilton against the Jets. So he might not even play this week. So if he does play, I wouldn't start him. They're going to New York against the Jets. So I would keep him on your bench.
Yeah, and back to the whole Will Fuller scenario they got them in Houston. You know, QD is definitely stepping up as that. You know, he's making himself known out there in Houston. And if you look at Will Fuller matchup here, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Miami, Denver, you know, Washington. Is it possible you might want to be a seller on Will Fuller, you know? Maybe get someone to buy a little bit hard on Will Fuller and give you some options for like some keepers for next year. Like, you know, people who might be reaching on Will Fuller due to previous performances. Is it possible to trade on him?
Well, you did. Right? So, yeah. I mean, if you can get a Texans fan to bite hard on Will Fuller.
Or someone who thinks that the connection with Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller is a connection like Drew Brees or Michael Thomas, who, in my opinion, idiotically offer you someone like James Conner who's a keeper. I mean, why not sell someone like Will Fuller, right? At the right time.
Yeah, if you could get Will Fuller for James Conner, I would do it.
It's a steal.
Yeah, why not? Especially for keeper purposes.
Bell's coming back.
Especially for keeper purposes. But yeah, so I don't care too much for him this week, but maybe he has some solid weeks towards the latter part.
If you have that guy in your league who's big on Will Fuller, scheme him.
Yeah, look to see if you can trade Will Fuller to somebody.
Yeah.
Try to get a running back out of it, or maybe a better wide receiver. So yeah, so then those are going to be the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Right. So going into quarterbacks. So quarterbacks that I like this week. So I like Senor Kirk Cousins going up against Arizona at home. So Kirk Cousins has those weapons, right? He has Diggs, Thielen, Rudolph. And then it looks like he's going to have Cook come back this week for him. And I see him taking the first steps to solidifying a role as the number 1 running back there and actually putting up some numbers to what we drafted him to.
Yeah.
So I don't see him having the massive game, but at least maybe like a 10 to 15 point game this week.
Out of Dalvin Cook.
So he plays, out of Dalvin Cook. But Kirk Cousins is going to have a solid game against Arizona. They have a deflated pass defense, so look for him to throw a few touchdowns there. So Kirk Cousins is going to be a start. And then another start would be Blake Bortles against against Dallas. So this is going to be for a deep waiver one. If you guys need somebody, you guys might be leaning on getting somebody, go looking at Blake Bortles against Dallas. So that would be a nice option for you to sub in. Yeah, and then this guy, he's been hot this past couple weeks. So this past 4 weeks was 40 points, 8 points, 32 points, 25 points. So I like Blake Bortles this week.
Yeah, Blake Bortles is definitely good. He's not a bad quarterback. A lot of people criticized him last year for throwing too many picks and not being able to perform in the clutch. But he went out there and he beat New England this year, and he's beat some favorable teams. So Blake Bortles is definitely someone to consider starting. For my starts this week, I actually like Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck versus the Jets. I talked about him a little bit earlier on in a couple of week 1, week 2 episodes about Andrew Luck's presence this year and how he's going to come back strong based off an injury coming off last year, or the last couple of years actually. But the last 2 weeks for Andrew Luck, he's put up 40 points, a 20-point game. He's going against a weaker New York Jets defense, who, in my opinion, only has one secondary player in Jamal Adams, who could possibly affect Andrew Luck's play. But I don't see them slowing him down at all. I expect Andrew Luck to have a good game against that Jets defense. I also like Cam Newton this week. Cam Newton this week against that Washington Redskins defense. Washington did not look that good that Monday night game against Drew Brees. They're two similar quarterbacks at talent level. Obviously, Drew Brees is a little bit better than Cam Newton, in my opinion. But Cam Newton is still a great quarterback. He throws for yards. He gets in those end zone from running the ball and throwing the ball. And he's put up some good games this year. He's had 35-point games. He had a 29-point game and a 20-point game. Coming off a bye week, it's always great to get back in that NFL zone, get back in that football mentality. So off a bye week, I'm expecting a solid game out of that Cam Newton against that Washington Redskins team this week.
Solid. All right. So sits of this week.
Oh,
2.
What you got?
So I do not like Case Keenum this week. So if you went and you picked him up, you might be starting him. Ooh, hold up.
Catch a break. Let me add on.
I don't like him. So Case Keenum against the Rams. Sorry. So Case Keenum against the Rams, and then another quarterback that I don't like is Carson Wentz at the New York Giants. So with bye weeks, some people are trying to plug in some quarterbacks. Carson Wentz hasn't played the best, but he hasn't played the worst. Let's see. Last 2 weeks, he's put up 28 points and 26 points. This week, going up against the Giants, he has a better matchup than he did last week with Minnesota. But it's a Thursday game. And I don't like Thursday games.
Yeah.
So, same thing with Jeffrey, as far as why I said to sit him. I don't like those Thursday games. So, he's playing on a short week. So, sit Carson Wentz.
And like I was going to mention, Case Keenum. We've actually talked about Case Keenum a lot. And so you said sit him this week. Is Case Keenum someone like, I guess you could keep on your team as a secondary quarterback? But it seems like Case Keenum, he's a very roller coaster ride type of quarterback. So with Case Keenum, that matchup, is against the Rams. But just based off his schedule for the next coming weeks, is someone we should potentially just sit for a little bit or just consider up and down with him?
It's been based off of matchups. Right, so last week we said start Keenum, put up 26 points. I think the week before that we had said to sit Keenum, and he put up 7 points.
Yeah, so we're mentioning Keenum a lot.
Yeah, so
it's like,
he's
would you consider him inconsistent?
Yeah, definitely, because he's had 2 good games.
And 3 bad games.
Last week against the Jets with 26.
And week 1.
And week 1 with 24. That's it.
So question mark for Case Keenum.
Question mark for Case Keenum is on matchup play.
He's only on the 7.9%.
Yeah, so I don't care for him.
What should I
this week?
What else do you care for this week?
Oh, it was Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz. Yeah, I think
Which was that? So,
right.
Mondo, are you playing him this week? I know that you got Drew Brees on a bye.
You know what? I don't like to. You know, it's. I mean, I'm not saying that Carson Wentz is gonna have a bad game. I mean, I like Carson Wentz. You know, there's a reason why I picked him up for this scenario. You know, I looked ahead when I drafted, and I saw that Drew Brees had a bye this week, and to me, I thought that matchup against the Giants was good. But you know, looking down the schedule right here, just saw some matchups that quarterbacks can be available. You know, I know Andrew Luck is available in our league, and that's someone I said to consider starting. The Alex Smith maybe against the Panthers. I know earlier in the year you were big on Alex Smith. I don't know how big you are on him now. Let me just throw an oddball. It's kind of an oddball question out there, based since we're on quarterbacks. Jameis Winston. He's going to Week 6 as the starting quarterback this week, and the Falcons' defense hasn't been great. So Alex, I mean, what are you expecting out of Jameis Winston?
I wouldn't touch him. Stay away from him.
Why is that?
He's going to disappoint you.
Even out of a defense like the Falcons, who, hope we could pull up some reports on the Falcons, hasn't really stopped opposing quarterbacks. But still.
You have better options.
Than Jameis Winston.
That's all I got to say. I mean, if you have to go to Jameis Winston, then you must be in like a 16-man league with 2 quarterbacks. That's the only way I see you really going for Winston.
Right.
Yeah, so that's just me. Alright, so that's for quarterbacks. So next, we're going into next defenses.
Dragon Ball D.
Alright, so going into some tight ends that we like this week. So there's actually a couple. If you guys started Ebron, like I told you guys to last week, congratulations. He put up a big game for you. So I'm going to say play him again this week. He's going up against the Jets. I like his matchup. So I don't think he's going to have the same production or that big of a game, but look for him to at least give you a double-digit game. So yeah, Ebron and Kittle against Green Bay, at Green Bay. So they have no other weapons on the outside. Green Bay's defense as well too, as far as the secondary, has been pretty good actually. Yeah. Their linebacking core has not been too stellar. Yeah. So look for Kittle to expose that portion of the field. So I like Kittle this week against Green Bay. Plays that I do not like. I do not like Hooper. So Hooper put up a nice game last week. Yeah. This week he goes, you think he has a good matchup, Tampa Bay. But it's going to be a more vertical pass play, as I believe. So I think that they're going to get the wide receivers more involved than the tight end. So look for the wide receivers to have a bigger upside than the tight end there. So put the brakes on Hooper. And then I also do not like Trey Boo Boo. So Boo Boo against Miami.
Yes, sir.
I don't like it.
Even though Miami's defense not the best, but
I don't like it.
Yeah, Trey Burton. He's not reliable. To me, I don't think Trey Burton is that reliable yet. You know, they definitely paid a big price to get him over from Philadelphia, and he's really produced, in my opinion. So for me, some tight ends that I do like this week, I like Kyle Rudolph for the Minnesota Vikings. You know, he's going against a good, not good. He has a good matchup against the Arizona Cardinals this week. You know, a very favorable matchup in this position. And like Alex already mentioned earlier on the show, that Kirk Cousins, you know, he's expecting a big week out of Kirk Cousins. So Kirk Cousins is definitely going to utilize Kyle Rudolph this week. And another tight end that I do like this week is going to be Travis Kelce. You know, Travis Kelce is going against the Patriots. It's hard to say someone like Travis Kelce with the thin tight end area, but I'm expecting a big game out of Travis Kelce actually. You know, I feel like him and Mahomes have been clicking really well, and he's put up two 20-point games in a row. You know, out of a tight end, we're expecting 10 points at least. He's doubling it. So you know, he's putting up points where we expect out of a wide receiver and a wide receiver one. So I mean, Travis Kelce is definitely valuable. So continue to start him and don't sit him at all. For some reason, if you wanted to just sit him. Some tight ends I don't like David Njoku against Los Angeles Chargers. You know, he's been struggling this year. I don't even know my own team, what city they're from. But yeah, I don't like him. He hasn't produced this year. You know, I was expecting a lot from him. I drafted him high this year. But you know, against the Chargers defense, like what they have, you know, they've been clicking lately, and the Chargers are on a roll right now. You know, they're one of the top-ranked teams in the league, and they're producing. They're playing great ball, and I'm proud to say that they're playing some great ball out there in Los Angeles. Another guy I don't really like this week. I don't really like. I just went down on his name. I blanked out on his name.
All right, well.
Dude, I blanked out on his name. Hard.
Figure that out. So, if you're looking to stream some tight ends, you can go ahead and look for the waivers. A person that I do like this week is Brait, because Winston does like his tight ends. So go look for Brait. You might be able to get Jesse James against Cincinnati as well too on the waivers.
Jordan Reed.
Olsen as well too is coming back off of the injury. So if he's right there as well too, look for him on the waivers. So that's a couple of people that you can look to stream off the waivers.
Definitely,
right?
most definitely.
Some defenses as well too. So like I said, any defense that is going up against a rookie quarterback or going up against a backup quarterback, play him. I like Green Bay again this week. So they're going up against San Francisco, and then I also like the Vikings as well too, going against the Cardinals.
Yep.
So. Go play it.
Yeah, one of the defenses I like this week. I actually like that Seattle Seahawks defense against the Oakland Raiders. Like I mentioned before, Derek Carr, throws a lot of interceptions, guys. He has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. And I mean, I feel like the Seahawks defense is not what it was, but they're making the most of what they have, most definitely. And I also like the Chargers defense this week. Against Baker Mayfield, I feel like Baker Mayfield might struggle a little bit against that Chargers defense. I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield. I mentioned it before, Baker Mayfield for president. But like I said, I'm a big fan of my Chargers. And I know they have a great secondary with Derwin James. He's really solidified himself as a true first-round pick. And I like Julio Adai. And I also like Casey Hayward, who I said last week was going to shut down Amari Cooper. And Cooper walked out of that game with only 2 points. And like I said, they still don't even have Joey Bosa yet. So I can only imagine what the Chargers defense is going to be with Joey Bosa. And they're definitely going to be a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion, Alex. Chargers for the Super Bowl? Possibility. It's a possibility.
All right, guys. So those are our defenses right there. But we appreciate everybody as well too. Thank you guys for the love, the comment, the support.
What's our name? Real quick?
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions for this week, please let us know. We're gonna be more active on game day as well too. If you guys have those last minute questions this week, we're gonna be on it. We're gonna make sure that we respond to you guys as quickly as possible, so you guys can make those last minute plays.
Most definitely.
All right, so Mondo.
Before we end up the video, let's do a quick little roundup shout out. Shout out to Sherry Williams, man. We really helped you out this week with your decision between Rodgers and Rivers. And we ended up going with Rodgers. Me and Alex definitely talked about that for like at least 5 minutes, really deciding who we decided to go with. And we went with Rodgers out of gut feeling. We thought he was going to do better.
400 plus yards and 3 TDs.
Yep, Aaron Rodgers went out and did his thing. Shout out to Vernon Williams.
Scary start though.
Yeah, Aaron.
Scary start. I know you're probably like,
podcast, I'm subscribing. But we did end up coming up clutch for you. Kyle, thank you for commenting as well. Breda Ingram and Baldwin. Breda ended up having a good game. John, we told you to start TJ Yeldon. TJ Yeldon ended up having a 20-point game. So shout out to John also for subscribing, as well as Sherry, as well as Kyle. Shout out to Lauren for subscribing. Just shout out to everyone. We appreciate all the comments. We definitely we gained 10 subscribers over the past week. We're up to, I believe, 46 now. So let's keep it going. We definitely got to remember you guys who's been here from the start. And once again, thank you for commenting. And we hope to see the same names continuously popping up in our comment feed. And we continue to hope to grow that trusting relationship as your fantasy gurus. For that being said, I'm Armando Beltran. This is my man Alex Acosta signing off for Week 6 High Time Podcast. We will see you here next week. I used to feel so devastated. Try to do like an intro singing song.